Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the time. I got cut off on the last video, so I'm picking it up here, and I'm going to speak a little bit longer about week three. I didn't want to leave it with my discussion of George III. So, again, going into this activity, it's really cool because it has us consider the extent to which any leader is to blame for conflict within the context of the state that they run. And I don't know how familiar you are with the famous musical called Hamilton, but in that musical, which was pretty much swept the United States over the past like 5 years, maybe more. There is a fun piece on King George, so you can see how he's been kind of like made fun of within the context of this musical. But in all seriousness, then the question of this forum, and I want you to take a look at a few different sources in order for you to draw a strong conclusion about my question related to leadership and conflict. So you can listen to the first song that's part of that musical. And then there is a source, a short reading for you to do on George III, found here under source two. Then I'm going to have you take a look at what Peter Schweikert wrote about George III. You can read page 64 and 65 in A Patriot's History. And then, of course, the Henrietta textbook has some information on George III on page 160 and 176. And then I encourage you to watch this video. It's not too long. I think it's just like 5 minutes or so, and it will give you some information on, well, you can see the title of it, The British Perspective of George III. So after considering all of these sources, then post in the forum answering that question: to what extent is leadership to blame for war? And of course, you can make that particular to the American Revolution and the outbreak of war. And then going back to the course page in with the last activity, you'll be taking a look at the course of the war. So if I open this up, we don't spend a lot of time looking at particulars related to different wars that the United States had fought over time. But it doesn't hurt to know a few details about each of the conflicts that were important in American history. If I were to have you leave your study of the American Revolution with anything, I would reference like the first battle, the turning point battle, and the last battle of the war. I think all three of them really emphasize the advantages that the American colonists had in engaging war against a seemingly impossible foe. The British on paper should have won the conflict. They had so many advantages: trained soldiers, a huge military, financial backing, whereas the Americans were a ragtag army with very little experience. They had problems with unity, and you'll kind of learn a lot about that as you watch the crash course video, but also too as you kind of look at the course of the war. The first battle, Lexington and Concord, in April of 1775, 1975, oh my goodness, 1775, has been memorialized and famous, as I say here, with Paul Revere and that poem by Henry Longfellow, warning, one if by land, two if by sea. Poor William Dawes, he never gets enough credit for his role that he played in that event. But that was the first battle of the conflict. And then the turning point battle, the Battle of Saratoga, which is in New York. It was after that battle that the French decided to join in the American cause. So that was definitely important. And it was the French support that probably tipped the balance for the Americans. And it was the last battle, the Battle of Yorktown, which really emphasized the importance of terrain and home field advantage because the British General Cornwallis got himself backed into onto a peninsula at Yorktown, and from there the rest is history, as they say. That battle in 1781 led to American victory and the drawing of the Treaty of Paris, which was eventually signed in 1783. But essentially, what this activity does is it takes you through the three different phases of the war. The initial phase leading up to the Battle of Saratoga in 1778, the middle period from 1778 to 1781, and then finally that last phase with the signing of the Treaty of Paris in 1783. With this, in examining each of these different periods, there are some questions for you to answer. And after you answer those questions, you just upload it to the course page. And that will then end week 1 of Essential Unit 3. Again, it's a very fast-paced unit and lots of work within the context of week 1. My suggestion is for you to do at least 2 activities per day. And like I said, if you're choosing AMSCO, make sure you do a couple chapters per week. Same with Henrietta. If you're taking notes from the Henrietta textbook, you want to follow those pages that I outlined with each of the AP topics. So that's it. If you have any questions, be sure to contact me. I'm happy to help. Probably your biggest issue is pacing because all of the work that you've all done so far has been fabulous. So figure out a way for you to manage this unit because it's going to move fast and we really need to get 4 units done before the winter holidays. So contact me if you need advice. Otherwise, good luck and I'll watch your work as you get through this first week of Unit 3.